You and Cash Patel covered up the murder of Silverio Villegas Gonzalez in my district by ICE agents. You tried to investigate Renee Good instead of the ICE agent who murdered her, and you tried to cover up the murder of Alex Peretti by CBP agents. You bring fake charges against protesters like the Broadview Six and Marimar Martinez, whom your administration labeled a domestic terrorist. This is the Montessori teacher who lives in my district, while protecting thugs who terrorize us and DHS authority. That's what you do. Protect and enable the criminals who are plundering our society and destroying what's left of democracy and the rule of law. Epstein accomplices, mass DHS thugs, corporate criminals, Tom Homan, Eric Adams, insurrectionists, the list goes on. And you talk about fighting crime, but you protect any criminal who helps you and Trump turn our country into an authoritarian.
What happens when a Democratic congressman walks into a congressional hearing and unloads a massive list of accusations against the Trump administration's Attorney General? You get the explosive confrontation you're about to see. Chuy García came into this hearing with his gloves off, and he didn't just criticize Pam Bondi. He accused her of abusing the power of the Justice Department, targeting political opponents, mishandling immigration enforcement, and even covering up information surrounding the Epstein files. But here's the question I think conservatives need to ask. Are these serious allegations that deserve real answers, or are we watching another Democrat turn a congressional hearing into a political battlefield? Because while Garcia was making his case, there was another side to this story that deserves attention, and that's exactly what we're going to break down today. Welcome back to the Blue Brief, where we cut through the political noise and give you the conservative perspective. If you value honest political commentary, make sure you hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and stick with us because this hearing gets even more intense. Now, let's get into it.
Attorney General Bondi, glad you finally made it here after hiding for 4 months from this committee. I understand why you're hiding from us.
Chairman?
You're one of the worst attorney generals in our history and an instrument of Donald Trump's lawless authoritarian agenda, and I'm glad the American people are seeing who you are, how you act, and the lack of good values. You weaponize the Department of Justice to target immigrants, working families, and anyone that Trump deems an enemy of the state, all to protect real powerful criminals, including in your administration. My Democratic colleagues have focused on your cover-up of the Epstein files and your passion for protecting pedophiles and child traffickers. That alone is grounds for impeachment. But there's so much more to your corrupt tenure as Attorney General. You directed prosecutors to investigate elected officials in welcoming jurisdictions, and you got thrown out of court when you sued Chicago, Cook County, and Illinois. You directed prosecutors to prioritize low-level immigration cases while gutting enforcement against corporate criminals and public corruption. You revived draconian law of 1798, which should be repealed to illegally send people to a torture prison in El Salvador. You fired over 100 immigration judges, including the assistant chief immigration judge in Chicago, without cause, and installed unqualified military judges whom you instructed to deny asylum in violation of the law. You prosecute the president's enemies like Jim Comey and Tish James while giving impunity to federal agents who are murdering and brutalizing and terrorizing constituents, including in Chicagoland, in my neighborhood. I saw it last year firsthand.
Representative Chuy García opened his statement by immediately going after Pam Bondi. He accused her of avoiding Congress for months and suggested that her eventual appearance before the committee was long overdue. And right from the beginning, Garcia made it clear that this wasn't going to be a friendly conversation. He described Bondi as one of the worst attorneys general in American history and accused her of becoming an instrument of what he called Donald Trump's authoritarian agenda. Now, let's pause right there. As a conservative, I completely understand why Republicans would push back against that characterization. The word authoritarian gets thrown around constantly in Washington, and both parties have been guilty of using extreme language to describe their political opponents. But here's where I think conservatives should be careful. When a member of Congress makes serious accusations about the Justice Department, we shouldn't automatically dismiss them simply because we disagree with the person making the allegations. We should demand evidence, transparency, and accountability. That's what the American people deserve.
Gangster state. And after all this, nobody supports you. I'm not talking about Democrats. I'm talking about conservative judges who are condemning the rampant lawlessness at DOJ under your leadership. Your prosecutors are quitting in droves over being forced to prosecute low-level immigration cases, including in Chicagoland. Your MAGA base despises you because you're covering up the Epstein file. How ironic. And even your own boss has repeatedly complained to your staff about you, calling you weak and ineffective. Weak and ineffective. That's what Donald Trump thinks of you already. You will not win, however. Chicagoland rejects you. The American people reject you. Our communities have demonstrated our strength and resilience in the face of cruelty and cowardice. Democrats must impeach and remove lawless officials like you and Kristi Noem and impose accountability for every criminal action. But you can spare yourself more humiliation. Resign now and submit yourself to accountability by the American people. Mr. Chairman, before I yield back, I ask unanimous consent to submit for the record this Wall Street Journal article dated January 12, 2026, entitled, "Trump has complained about Pam Bondi repeatedly to aides." Thank you, and I yield back.
Objection. Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Texas is recognized.
I thank the chairman.
May I have 20 seconds, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Let's hear the opposition research.
Thank you. That's absolutely right, that they're not running for, he's not running for office again because, well, I don't know why you're not running for office again, but after the filing deadline, you publicly announced you would not run when your chief of staff, Chuy García, announced and took your seat.
That's a state matter. That isn't a federal matter. You should investigate crimes.
I believe
You should investigate violations of the law.
Democrats accuse Republicans of authoritarianism. Republicans accuse Democrats of weaponizing government. Democrats accuse Republicans of attacking democracy. Republicans accuse Democrats of protecting a broken establishment. And somewhere in the middle of all of this are ordinary Americans who just want their government to work. They want safer communities. They want secure borders. They want an economy they can afford. They want equal justice under the law. And they want politicians to stop treating every congressional hearing like a campaign rally. Now, I don't agree with much of Chuy Garcia's political agenda, and I strongly disagree with many of his characterizations of the Trump administration. But I will say this. If there are legitimate questions about the Justice Department, they should be answered. And if Bondi believes the allegations are false, then she should confront them directly with facts and evidence. That's how accountability works. You don't silence criticism, you answer it. And conservatives should hold our own leaders to the same standard. If someone in the Trump administration is doing a good job, defend them. If they're doing a bad job, demand improvement. If someone breaks the law, investigate them. That isn't anti-Trump, that's pro-America. The strength of our country doesn't come from blindly defending politicians. It comes from defending the Constitution, the rule of law, and equal justice. And that's why this hearing matters. Not because Chuy García delivered an angry speech, not because Pam Bondi was put on the hot seat, but because the American people deserve to know whether the Justice Department is being run fairly, effectively, and within the boundaries of the law. That is the real question, and that is the question Congress should be asking. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think Chuy García raised legitimate concerns about Pam Bondi and the Justice Department, or do you believe this was primarily a partisan political attack? And if you're watching this and you believe in honest, conservative commentary that doesn't blindly follow either political party, make sure you subscribe to The Blue Brief, hit that like button, and share this video with someone who wants to understand what's really happening in Washington, because the political battles are only getting bigger, and we're going to be here to break them down. This is The Blue Brief. Stay informed, stay engaged, and most importantly, stay free. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.